Prescriptive grammar versus descriptive grammar, the age-long war. Both prescriptive and descriptive grammar are age-long categories of grammar with varying ideologies about the workings of grammar. The former prevailed in earlier centuries and is still in use till this day, while the latter sprang up in the modern age and is more dominantly used than the former. The rest of this article will uncloak the differences that exist between prescriptive grammar and descriptive grammar. Prescriptive grammar. Growing up as a child, it is given that you would have been instructed on what to do and what not to do, what to eat, what touch, who to talk to, etc. This is almost exactly what obtains in prescriptive grammar. Prescriptive grammar is grammar that imposes rules that guide the use of language on speakers. This grammar is based on the logic of philosophers like Plato, the Stoics, Aristotle, etc. Prescriptive grammar sprang up from philosophers' intuition of what should be considered grammatical and ungrammatical. It was a grammar that was first experimented with the Latin language and then imposed on many other languages, hence earning it the status of universal grammar. For example, their English grammar of the earlier centuries was modeled after Latin grammar. Prescriptive grammar was based also, of literary writings. That is, canonical literary works were used as the standards for grammaticality, hence grammar at the time was defined as the art of writing. Prescriptive grammar imposed rules of grammaticality on speakers without observation and evaluation of the speaker's use language. Some of these imposed rules include, sentences cannot end with a preposition. For example, sentences like, "Where are you going to?" were considered ungrammatical. Sentences could not start with conjunctions. For example, "and the reason for his actions." Such sentence was considered ungrammatical. Words could not be placed between a to infinitive and the base form verb that go occurs with it. For example, "I want to really enjoy this meal," was considered ungrammatical. The modal verb, shall, could only be used together with the first person pronoun. For example, "you shall be credited," was considered ungrammatical. Prescriptive grammar was the bane of traditional grammar and has continued to be used till this day, especially in primary and secondary schools. This grammar that was introduced by traditional grammarians was then improved upon with the advent of descriptive grammar. Descriptive grammar. Descriptive grammar. Descriptive grammar is grammar that, different from what obtains in traditional grammar, focuses on speaker-hearer's usability of language. That is, this grammar focuses on how native speakers use their language. It observes and examines how native speakers use language to be able to account for grammatical use of language based on native speakers' intuition. What this implies is that this grammar was founded on the basis that grammaticality of language use should be determined by native speakers' knowledge of their language use. It was this era of grammar, modern era, that saw the emergence of linguistics due to the scientific method of analysis used in the study of languages to determine their grammars. The era of traditional grammar was then considered the pre-linguistic era. Ferdinand de Saussure, who propounded structural grammar, was popular for his contribution to modern grammar, often regarded as the father of modern grammar. This is because of his works on Langue, focusing on the abstract knowledge of the systems and workings of one's language, and Parole, the ability of a person to use their language as determined by some factors. Also, his introduction of the concepts of diachronic, study of language over a period of time, and synchronic, study of language at a particular period, study of grammar really set the pace for modern grammarians. Other grammatical models that followed were the transformation generative grammar, TGG, and the systemic functional grammar, SFG. So the difference that exists between prescriptive grammar and descriptive grammar is that while prescriptive grammar focuses on the imposition of rules that guide the use of language without consideration of native speakers' that is, native speakers' knowledge of their language's system, and was purely based on logic and arbitrary intuition. Descriptive grammar focuses on the evaluation of native speakers' intuition of their language, from which rules were generated with which to be used to account for the grammaticality of utterances in a language. See you soon.